All right, guys, so we're in video 2 of the Retouching Images series. This is going to be the last video, and in this video, we're going to be using the Content Aware Fill. So what Content Aware Fill is going to do is it's going to remove large chunks of an image, and it's going to cover it all up with whatever we kind of ask it to. So for this one, we're going to be removing this little bridge, and we're going to be covering it up with more grass so that we just kind of have a nice, maybe like a background to a computer or something, or just a nice landscape photo without this distracting diagonal line in here. First step you're going to need to do is you're going to be using the lasso tool. It's important to use the lasso tool because you're going to want to select some of the background that's going to be covering it. So for this, I'm going to be selecting some of the grass because that's what we want to cover this bridge. So we can be kind of sloppy with this one. And I'm just selecting some of that grass and then making sure that I finish my selection by closing the little area. So now that I have my selection done, what I need to do is I need to go to Edit, scroll down to Fill, make sure that the contents is on Content Aware. We're on 100% opacity and mode is normal. And then we're going to click. And once we click OK, Photoshop's going to figure out what to cover it with in the best way possible. And it's going to fill that in for us. All right, so Photoshop did a pretty decent job. I'm going to deselect this little marching ants by hitting Command D. And then I just noticed that there are some blurry spots in here that Photoshop kind of struggled with. So for those Photoshop struggles, we're going to clean it up with the clone stamp, which we just used in our last tutorial. I'm going to increase the size of my brush, and I'm going to use the shortcut, which is right next to the P key, and it's those brackets. So the bracket that is facing to the left is going to make my brush smaller. The bracket facing to the right is going to make my brush a little bit bigger. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to select an area. I'm making sure my opacity is just a little bit lower so that way it isn't super harsh. It's going to make it a little bit see-through. And then I'm just going to use these brushes to paint over these little blurry areas and super jagged lines. If you see any of those, clean those up. Just do it until it looks natural. If your brush is too hard, you can always turn the hardness down, which will make those circles less defined. And just take your time. Until you feel like it looks good. And I find it helps to kind of look at the back and forth between the plus and your cursor. That way you kind of see what you're copying, but you also see where it's going. It also helps to take different sections and bring them all together. Otherwise it looks like the same section kind of over and over and over again. All right, and then once we have this finished, we'll save it and we'll use it for whatever project we need to use it for.